Hello, I'm Megan from Datadog, and I'm here to talk about the fundamentals for improving customer experience. At this point, it shouldn't be too much of a surprise that SLOs are a core part of this. I'm going to cover the terminology and concepts, how to start thinking about these concepts, and putting them into practice for your teams to provide your customers with the experience that they are looking for. Customers, keeping in mind these could be internal or external customers, are at the heart of what we build and what we do. And when customers are using our products and services, they have certain expectations. So if you require users to log in, then they expect to be able to add their credentials and easily access the homepage once they submit them. If your product has a checkout cart, your customers expect to be able to add items to that cart and submit a payment. These features should be available, responsive, have the correct data, and be error-free. It's one thing to have the features your customers requested, but another to have them be available when they go to use them. The reliability of your products is just as important as the features and functionality you build in. The value comes from that entire experience. Let's say you want to ensure that your product doesn't have more than 1% error rate over the course of the month. By thinking about reliability like this, you've already made huge progress towards setting your goals. That 1% error rate is a place for you to start working from. This is your error budget. So how do you get here? SLOs are really intended to make sure you are first measuring the right things. When you're dealing with millions and millions of data points, it can be easy to get lost in the noise. SLOs are intentional and help filter through any noise. You also need to set achievable targets and collaborate with your team, and we'll chat about all of this next. Before we go any further, I want to make sure that we're working from the same definitions. Service level objective agreements, SLAs, are they binding agreements? This is where contractual legal obligations come into the picture. We aren't going to be dealing with the SLA piece today, but it's important to distinguish between agreements and the service level objectives that help your business get there. Objectives are the targets, the goals you want to achieve. It's that user happiness. And then SLIs, service level indicators. This is what you're measuring, the key metrics and thresholds. And error budgets. Okay, error budgets are your wiggle room, the literal budget you have to work within, the allowed amount of unreliability your product can have. Thinking about our example, if we say that the product can't have more than 1% reliability over the course of a month, we're working with a SLO target of 99%. The error budget is calculated as 1 minus that SLO target. Moving forward from here, next, we want to bring together the right people. SLOs are entirely collaborative. They aren't created and mandated in a silo. We know SLOs are important to the end user. Remember, they are the heart of the decisions that we make. But there are stakeholders across different roles in product development, operations, and they all play a huge part. The product role, new features might look good on paper, but if they don't work reliably, your customers won't be happy. And at the end of the day, you won't be addressing any of the pain that your new features were trying to address. Product managers, and then this speaks very closely to me, are responsible for planning how the product evolves, and reliability needs to be factored into those plans. There's also a balance between delighting users and balancing expectations between various stakeholders. On the development side, developers want to evolve the product and ship new features. Shipping new features definitely risks breaking things, but those risks need to be calculated in order to stay competitive. From an operational perspective, the product needs to be stable. From an operational perspective, these folks want to ensure the stability of the product. They work to automate reliability tasks as much as possible, and they support when something goes wrong. Now that you have all the right stakeholders, it's time to start implementing. You will want to put your user's perspective into consideration by exploring user journeys. This is how they interact with the product. How are your users interacting? What's the journey that they're taking? What parts of the architecture do these journeys directly interact with? What are they expecting from your systems, and what are they hoping to accomplish? While you're thinking about user journeys, think about the success criteria. Availability and latency SLOs are usual starting points, but there's a variety of metrics to explore. The right data needs to be returned to users. How long does it take for the data to be processed? How many requests can and should be handled? These are all things to keep in mind. Also, not every product or business needs to be available 24/7. Some SLOs can be defined for 9 to 5 business hours, or maybe they should be defined for high weekend traffic. Or how do you take scheduled maintenance into account when planned changes shouldn't impact your goals with customers? This is another consideration when developing your SLIs and SLOs. You can also think about SLIs in terms of time or requests. In Datadog, a time-based SLI is monitor-driven, and this answers a question of or addresses the SLO of 99% of the time, latency is less than 200 milliseconds. On the other hand, for request-based, this is metric-driven and speaks to the use case of 99% of my requests have latency less than 200 milliseconds. And you can view these SLO statuses and compare over different time frames, previous month, past 30 days, and then month to date, to compare that status over those different windows. You also want to be proactive. So it's one thing to be staring at your dashboards and your visualizations and having that up and viewing it all the time, but you want to be alerted beforehand when things start to go wrong. Then you want to start utilizing that error budget. Error budget alerts, these tell you when to slow down, stop feature development, and to focus on reliability. Error budget alerts will say, notify me when certain percentage of my SLO's total error budget is consumed. On the other hand, burn rate alerts will say, tell me when an active incident or issue is burning through my error budget. So notify me when the rate of consumption of my SLO's error budget gets too high. So now I can be proactive about that my customers' experience using my error budgets and SLOs. So if there's anything to leave you with, it's these three things. Consider what your users expect from your product. Pick SLIs that represent end user experience. And remember, not everything needs SLOs. Be intentional about it. You don't need to have an SLO for absolutely everything. Go back to your customer journeys and pick out what's most important. Thank you.